Hello and welcome back to Toy Thursday with Johnny Tiger on January 21st, 2021. I grew up in Taiwan. Well, part of my childhood was in Taiwan. And for those of you who don't know, if there's one thing that Taiwan has plenty of, it's snakes. Uh, Taiwan has a variety of large and little snakes. It has six different species of extremely venomous, poisonous snakes. And on top of that, it also has the occasional constrictors and pythons and big snakes that's going to be able to throttle a live person. Yeah, I know. Suddenly, Taiwan doesn't sound like a very great place to live. But it is a nice island as long as you watch out for the snakes. So, I can say that maybe because of growing up in Taiwan, growing up on an island, that snake is a popular topic quite often. And then growing up in a culture, a Chinese culture, where snake is also in a lot of Chinese folklore and stories. Those of you who follow Wisdom Wednesday remember that we talked about snake being one of the demigods uh, about a month or so ago. Maybe because of that, it's like a double whammy of snakes that I've always been relatively interested in snakes. I find them rather fascinating, and of course, snake-themed action figures interest me even more. I actually have a childhood photo of myself taking picture with a huge boa constrictor around my body. Uh, that was a very interesting experience. Took that picture in Thailand on my first trip there. Now, even without that little bit of a preamble, I think you guys can see by the character in front of the camera that we're going to be talking about snakes. I imagine most people don't know who this guy is, but by his green, scaly body armor, his giant hood, and the little cobra on his hood, and let me turn him around. This very rather unique looking cape that flares out at the top and narrows down at the bottom. You can imagine this guy is a snake guy. And if you guess that his code name is something like King Cobra or Cobra, then you would be correct. Not too many people know about Cobra. At least not this Cobra. Because Cobra has never been that big of a deal in Marvel Comics. He is the leader of a group of outlaws called the Serpent Society, and every member in that group is named after, taken after some kind of snake, like Cottonmouth and Rattlesnake and Diamondback and all that stuff. Cobra is the guy who's leading them and going on committing crimes and stuff like that. But as cool as the name sounds, the Serpent Society is like the equivalent of a labor union uh, of bad guys. They are not high-powered supervillains. They are mostly low-powered, low-level supervillains that get talked into doing the biddings of other guys, or when some new superhero need to show off their ability, they would casually go out and run into some members of the Serpent Society and kick their butt, and then we get to see how heroic they are. So yeah, these guys are low-level guys. This is why not many people know about Cobra. We're not going to spend too much time on him because we do have a few of really cool action figures I want to show you guys today. But Cobra is really cool in his own way. Let me give you a quick rundown of his biography. Born by the name of Klaus Voorhees, Cobra was a Dutch immigrant who quit school early and started doing petty crimes. And then he got sentenced to do some community service. And during his community service, he was sent to India to work as a research assistant for a doctor who was working on some very advanced form of anti-venom. Jealous of the doctor's success, Klaus, aka Cobra, plotted to have the doctor killed by one of the snakes in the laboratory. Unfortunately, he himself got bitten by the snake, and that snake turned out to be radioactive. So, after he woke up, Klaus suddenly realized that he is now no longer strictly speaking human. He was now a mutant. He was now a superhuman with snake-like characteristic. His superpower is that he can contort his body to fit into really, really small places, and he has control of every individual muscle in his body. So that makes him very agile, very quick, very hard to injure, uh, and he can pull off movements that most other people can't, just because of how good a control he has over every muscle in his body. In addition to that, if you guys see this silver bracer on his arm, he has a pair of silver gadgets on his arm. These allow him to fire poisonous darts at whoever he wants to kill. These things are so poisonous they can kill one of these darts can kill an adult human within 6 minutes. Usually take quite a few more to kill a superhuman. As if that's not enough, Cobra also has this specially designed suit of battle armor. Is this scaly armor you are seeing now on camera. This armor is silicone treated and extremely slippery, making him very difficult to grab in combat. So he is definitely a slippery character with some interesting traits, even though in the end he is still a very low level guy. This action figure was made by Hasbro in I believe 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And despite the character not being all that impressive and not being all that important, I do like this character. I do like this action figure because of how textured he is. Uh, he has this texture on the back of his cape that feel very snaky. There's two stripes running down the back of the cape here. That's really interesting. That even if I didn't know who this guy was, if I took him out of the package, I would be instantly be able to say, this is a snake guy. This guy's portraying a snake. Like, there's no question about it. So, from a tactile point of view, and all this scaly armor he's wearing, it's really cool. I really like the character design. Big cobra hood around his head, a very distinct looking cape and, behind him, and a whole suit of scaly body armor. Yeah, that's one interesting looking action figure. And a good figure to open today's show with. The next action figure I'm going to show you was made by Todd Mcfarlane in 1998. Xu, yeah, it is actually Xu, and came from the Spawn, Curse of Spawn comic. I'm not going to tell you her name right now. I imagine if you guys take one look at her, you would be able to name this character, even though she doesn't look like the usual depiction. But I think the message is very strong. So I'm going to bring her out in front of the display right here. Look at that. She is green, black, and gray. She is very tall, very scaly, and she has forked tongue. She has a long trailing tail, a pair of ragged-looking wings on her back, and her most defining trait, a whole head of writhing, twisting snakes. And if you have guessed Medusa from Greek mythology, congratulations, you know your Greek myth. Or maybe you just play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. This is Todd Mcfarlane's portrayal of Medusa. Not exactly what we imagined from Greek mythology, but very similar. Now, all the main idea is there, and her background is basically the same. She once upon a time, Medusa was a extremely beautiful woman, and her beauty actually made Athena, the goddess Athena, jealous enough that Athena cursed her and turned her into a monster, turned her beautiful hair into a whole head of writhing, biting, venomous snakes, and anyone who was to look upon her face would be turned to stone. That was the story of the original Medusa, and that was basically the story of this Medusa. She is very gorgeous in a monstrous way. I know that sounds really weird, but just look at how detailed this action figure is. All the scaly, wrinkly parts of her skin, all the snakes, the one she's holding in her arm, and the snake from her head. And what's really cool is a lot of these snakes are different snakes. Like there's a cobra here, and then this one is a different snake. And yeah, so like she got a lot of snakes coming out of her head, but they are different snakes. That's really cool. Really cool attention to detail. She's got spikes and fins on her arm, wings on her back, and her dew claws come out the back of her feet, making it look like she's wearing high heels. That's kind of weird. She is like the perfect portrayal of a snake monster woman, and she's quite large comparing to most action figures today. Let me bring Cobra back into the frame for a quick comparison. You guys can see how big Medusa is. Here's Cobra, a supervillain, standing next to Medusa, and Medusa just looms over him, like head and shoulder taller than him. And guess what? Back then in 1998, I bought Medusa for $8. That's how crazy it was. Look at this snake she's cradling. This is actually supposed to be like a staff she's holding, but it's like an actual snake in her arm, like that. Look at all the little wrinkles and folds in her skin. It's so horrifying. Yeah, yeah, really cool. Really, really cool. By the way, a lot of these snakes on her head, they're bendy. You can bend them to different positions, like this, like that. They can give her different hairstyle. The next snaky creature I'm going to show you is also by Todd McFarlane. This one was made in 1999, also a very old figure, and it's one of my favorite figures in my collection. Uh, I loved him when I first got him back then. I still say he is one of my favorites. This is the Viper King. The Viper King, one of Todd McFarlane's own creation, coming out of the Dark Age, the Spawn of Dark Age series of action figures. Look at this creature. Look at this guy. This is a very muscular snake dude with snakes making up his lower body. So his upper body is relatively more human, very kind of demonic, and his lower body branches out into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. His lower body branches out into 6 snakes. All of them can be twisted and bent to different positions. And again, we got different type of snake. We got a cobra here. We got a different snake here. A different snake here. Another cobra on the left. Really, really cool. Like, this is one seriously badass looking character. You want a monster character? This is a monster character. Look at the back of his head. Even that braid ponytail looking thing, that's actually the body of another snake. So it's like this is a guy purely made out of snake. And these chains that attach the snake to him, so it's almost like he enslaved these snakes. These chains are real metal. So this is very cool action figure. I like action figures that has real metal on them. And of course I like muscular action figures. This guy is really muscular. Really, really cool. The Viper King. He definitely looks like the king of all vipers, living up to his name. His head is like a huge cobra head. With a relatively, I want to say human-like face, but that is not really human. That is very demonic. So yeah, definitely look like a bad news for anyone who crossed paths with him. Look at that. Look at that. 6 snakes holding up an upper body. Like that. Really cool. I have one more snake to show you, and this one, the main star of the show today, also made by Todd McFarlane. He just came out about 3 months ago in the new robotic animal weapon toy series. I got it as a birthday gift from my director friends, my good friends, Ian, Darren. Darren, I know you're looking at this, so this is one of the figures that the Amazon gift card that from you guys went to. This is Battle Snake. Yeah, I know, not very original as names go, but being part of the robotic animal weapon program, this is a very cybernetic, very robotic looking snake. In his biography, Battlesnake is one of the genetic bioweapons created in the robotic animal weapon research, they infused a genius level intellect into the body of a king cobra and upgraded the king cobra with cybernetic machinery and steel skin and hood. Now, a lot of people say this is a small action figure. And I know if you look at him like this, he looks kind of small. But you gotta remember this is a snake. So when he's not coiled up like this, he would be like that or bigger. I can't stretch him out fully, but he's actually quite large. Uh, Again, let me bring Cobra back into the frame for a quick comparison with Battle Snake, who is also a Cobra. Cobra, human Cobra with robotic Cobra. Okay, if you look at this, the robotic Cobra, just the head alone is taller than the human Cobra. So you can imagine how big this thing is. This is a giant snake. This is not a small action figure. This is huge when displayed with other action figures. Don't let the size fool you in the package because it's coiled up. But if you put him into context with other action figures, he's huge. It's more like an anaconda. Look at on the tip of his tail, he has this like spikes or blades. Definitely not on a real Cobra, but since this is a robotic creation, I guess that makes sense. Use the tail to slice and dice up his opponent. The jaw can move up and down, open and shut, and the tongue. This is really cool, but you have to be careful with this. The tongue is movable. You can extend the tongue out like this, and then it can retract in back into the mouth like that. Look at this, get you a view of the back of the hood. This action figure reminds me a lot of my childhood. No, I didn't have a battle snake back then, but I had a lot of creepy crawly snake toys, and all of them were made of that rubbery material that just wobble and wiggle all over the place when you move the snake. I'm sure most of you who grew up back then, you know what I'm talking about. It's the kind of snake toys that just really spongy, really rubbery. Well, that is basically the texture on Battle Snake here. If I grab him and I shake him, see how he's coiled, his body just wobble, flop around like that. It's all rubber. This is all rubber. This is like one of those old rubber snake toys. Really bringing back some childhood memories. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. Let me give you guys a view of his back. And his underbelly. Is he a very good action figure? Well, I would say yes because I like snakes, and he definitely fills the spot. He takes the spot of being the largest, most dangerous looking viper, cybernetic robotic cobra in my collection. Like he's very unique. There's no other cyber cobra that can at all. Never mind one that can compete with his size. So he fills a niche, and he brings back a lot of childhood memory with that rubbery, floppy construction. So yeah, I'm really happy that I got him. Again, I would say that the robotic animal weapon series of action figure make me almost glad to be blind because supposedly the color don't look very good on these, but texture-wise, sculptural-wise, they're really, really amazing. Thank you for checking out today's Toy Thursday. We'll be back again tomorrow for Fitness Friday. For now, have a good night.